looking sharp.
Thank you, sir.
We're gonna call the work session to order for the August 12th, 2025. We've got the approval of the minutes for July 22nd, the regular session, as well as the work session. And we have the August 5th special called meeting minutes and the August 5th special called executive session minutes. Any questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none. Presentations, I believe that presentation is gonna get moved.
Yes.
At the last minute. He's from Barnesville. So if you came to get a proclamation or watch us give a presentation to Lieutenant Mosley for retirement, he is not going to be able to be here this evening. Public hearing. This one's going to be related to are we doing a public hearing during the work session, or are we going to do
Yes,
it during
yes.
the regular session?
We'll just keep it open to there.
No, that's fine.
Find that.
Well, this will be a good one. Y'all get to watch this in action right here. You know, massive crowds. And we'll ask questions later because there actually was a change in how the state law interpreted some of what we do that probably isn't reasonable, you know, but you know, we got to follow rules like everybody else. Mr. Baker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, ladies and gentlemen. This public hearing consists of a reference around the millage increase, which is not really an increase, but let me go through this real quick now that we have the proper one up here. You have the 5-year tax digest behind me. We've tentatively adopted a 2025 millage rate, which is the same as the previous year at 7.514%, or mills rather. And this will increase property taxes, as you see in your agenda, by 10.78%, which is the required verbiage by Georgia state law after the passage of House Bill 581. What I would like to do is kind of go over that. You'll see in your handout here that we have a quote as far as a press release was done concerning the property tax increase. The verbiage from House Bill 581 requires that when the total digest of taxable property is prepared, Georgia law requires a rollback millage rate be completed, or computed rather, that will produce the same total revenue on the current year's digest that last year's millage rate would have produced had no reassessment occurred. Can have your opinion on it. My opinion on this is that that's a punitive rendition of what the facts are. And basically, it's almost a punishment for growth. We have experienced growth in the city of Morrow. We have maintained our millage rate. By virtue of maintaining the millage rate, however, because of the increase in assessed values in the area, you see an increase in the collection rate, not necessarily the taxation rate. So our collections are going up to 10%. But what I would like to bring everyone's attention to is with the tentative increase in the millage rate, which is staying the same at 7.154 mills, it requires us to say it's an increase, although it's staying the same from last year. And you can see up here, clearly stated, that our millage rate went from 9.081 for 2 years running, reduced to 4.99, and for the last 3 consecutive years, we have kept it consistent. You'll also see that there was a decrease in tax or collections at that time that outweighs the $198,693 we'll have an increase in collections on, which essentially will cover the increase that we've experienced budgetarily in insurance rates as well as healthcare costs. So I think we're playing a vernacular game here as far as the verbiage. The millage rate stays the same. The collections have increased because of the assessed values. So, and in here you'll also see, quite by happenstance, that the Jonesboro, city of Jonesboro is also included in the press release because they were ran at the same time. That's an increase when they increase their millage by 15%, or 15 mills rather, and their collection rate goes up 86%. But essentially I'd like to redirect back to us as far as our 7.514 mills with the increased collections based on the assessments. That basically equates for property holders. If you have a $250,000 home, you'll pay about $4.50 more per annum. And if you have a $350,000 home or assessed value home, your collections will go up $7. I know that's as
One of the other
clear
things-
as mud, however.
One of the other things is, prior to House Bill 581, so let's say that we didn't have a Walmart, and then we built a Walmart. There's a value to that that wasn't there before. You had the value of the land, but you didn't have the value of the building. I mean, you might say $50 million. That used to be called growth, right? So growth didn't count against you, right? The only thing that would change is if I went over to Lana's house and I just doubled the value and I said, you know, it was worth $200,000 and now it's worth $400,000. You know, that's something where theoretically, if that value goes up, I'm supposed to reduce the millage rate or be accountable to the citizens as to why it was collected. And in this particular case, what we're complaining about is we've had new growth from the standpoint of, say, 2 new hotels, for an example. The expansion of U-Haul. You know, these are major buildings that you saw out there. That's probably worth at least $60 million total. And they're basically saying because you collected that money at a higher dollar value than you collected before, and because of House Bill 581, that you got to list it as a tax increase. That's the part I disagree with. Now, if I reassess your property, fair game, right, in terms of that. That didn't change, you know, municipal costs such as what health insurance does. You got to be able to pay your bills, right? And one of these days you'll all be employees too, and you'll appreciate health insurance, right? And you'll appreciate it when your employer basically picks up the majority of it rather than passing on a 40% increase to you, okay? Those are things that, you know, we have to deal with. But that's the one that I find is misleading because you're changing it without a lot of explanation. The average person, and you can do this in your head, how do you determine how much you're paying? Right? We have a number that is a millage rate number, right? But if I said your house was worth $500,000, how much per mill? Can y'all do that in your head? You can if somebody explains it to you because it's relatively simple. But the average person can't sit here and tell you how you do it. Right? So the first thing you do is your assessed value is 40%, 60%.
40%.
40, okay, my count's over there. 40% of the value, right? So you take 40% of 500,000. Then a mill is defined as 1,000, right? You divide that by 1,000. That number that you have left, that's the number that you're going to be taxed at for every mill that somebody charges. School systems maxed out at 20, counties at 14. They have a 5 mil, roughly 5 mil, fire district tax. The city of Mars is at 7.5, which is the lowest municipal taxed city in Clinton County.
And we have a good homestead exemption.
Yes.
200,000. First 200,000, regardless of age or income, whether you look as bad as me or you look as good as you guys get it. Does that make sense? So nobody wanted to be taught a lesson there today, but that'll matter to you as you get older. People ask you those questions all the time. So, yeah. And then if your value goes up and you disagree with it, you have the right to appeal to a board of equalization, which is your peers. It's not government people. That's citizens that are picked and said, was it fair or not? You know, and it's not fair to have yours taxed correctly and yours either given away or double what it should be worth. Right? That's how everybody plays on the same plane. Questions from the city council, Ms. Knight?
I just want to make sure I'm looking at this correctly, because what we've got up here, yeah, was it cut off in the public?
This is 7.36% because this format with the state takes into account the rollback from lost local option sales.
Okay,
The amount that we're required to legally put in the release is based on the PT 32.1, which doesn't include that.
okay, because I was going to say those percentages are really different.
Yeah.
This is 7.
And that's really in the weeds. You have to go ask the finance guy to be able to explain that one to you.
Okay.
We have to roll back for the local option sales tax on this.
Okay.
Which really, I don't understand why they want you to use that instead of this number, because this number is more accurate. It's,
Smoke and mirrors.
yeah.
Other questions? Mr. Quah?
Convoluted.
Ms. Dean?
No questions.
Is Miss Wynn online yet? Or she just coming?
No, she's on.
Hey, Miss Wynn, you got any questions?
Hi.
I just want to clarify that we are keeping the millage rate the same, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
It's a public hearing. Comments from the audience? Okay.
Oh, did you ask? Okay.
We did.
Okay. Want to make sure, sir. Want all the questions I can get.
Now, there's some bright minds in the room. I got finance here, so you can ask them really hard questions.
See, sure.
And not you, Cherry. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I still don't understand how, you know, you're going,
5.
7.514 versus 10.78. I mean, it's like you're, I don't understand it.
If, the best way I can explain it is if you were making, if your taxable income from your salary was within the same median percentage that you pay now, but you made more per hour without going to the next tax bracket, they're gonna collect more taxes off of what you make more. And it's the same with this. The assessments are not necessarily assessed values. It's the assessments that we're taking from the taxable dollars. So as the taxable dollars increase, and so do our collections. So if you look at it from a collection basis as opposed to an increase, the millage stays the same, but there's more value coming into the city. So the obverse of that is the fact that you're gonna collect a little bit more off of what's coming in because there's more coming in, even though you don't increase the taxes, the tax rate or the mill rate.
Okay, so say, when we got our new thing that said they're gonna value your tax at, say, 250,000. The first 200 is exempt.
Yes, ma'am.
So you pay tax on the 50,000 at which rate?
The same millage rate as before, but if your valuation on your home went up a little bit because of a sale or sales in the area, then for the property value tax, then it's gonna go up $4.50 on a $250,000 valuation on the home. So even if you do nothing with that home, the valuation's gonna increase because you get an increased tax bill from your commission, the tax commissioner, because the assessed sales in the area have gone up as well. So that's the only difference is the valuations have increased on some of these, so you're gonna be paying a little bit more because of the assessed values. But the good news on that is because the value's going up and it's not going down if you sell your home or do something similar with it or wanna get a second mortgage or whatever, the valuation has gone up, so you've made money.
I mean, it's kind of pathetic. Everybody knows I've lived here forever. What I actually paid for that house and what they say it's worth is like, really, somebody give you that money.
That's good for you.
One other thing to point out for the math people in the audience, and I know we got some really good ones. I want you to pay attention to 2024 and 2025. And on the third set, where it says gross M&M at 14.26, and then you take your rollback, okay? And your rollback for a local option sales tax basically says you spend money in this county and you collect 1 penny from that. And then that's prorated out, the county gets 66%. The cities divide up the rest. Morrow simply gets our residential population percentage back. Now, we produce about $10 million a year in the city of Morrow for sales tax. You're gonna notice that number doesn't even remotely, come to that number. So let's say you're a resident and you're basically producing 10 million, and I'm giving you back 2.7 million. That's a good deal for you, right? No, you're losing $7 million, So, but we don't have any way to protect ourselves in that. Basically, how the legislation is written, unless I've got 9,000 people in the city, which I do not have. I have a daytime population of 50,000, but that doesn't matter. There are criteria, and we get taken advantage of that. So when you're doing your math, and you're sitting over there seeing last year, basically, the amount of sales tax that basically was produced in terms of dollars, produced at a higher percentage number, than basically the 6.7. Isn't that correct? Correct? I'm talking finance now, right? Okay. So this is where you get into the weeds. So obviously, it's not enough to just say I left my millage rate at the same. I also should have theoretically been able to collect the same amount of money in sales tax. I didn't, right? For whatever reason, they didn't buy the cars, they didn't do whatever, and not by a huge number, but you're looking at it as 0.25. Okay? Then I'd actually have to have a calculator and to figure out what that 0.25 was. So even if you had stayed the same, and let's just say that people in this county shopped less, then those numbers automatically change. Does that make sense? It has nothing to do with the assessed value of your property. It has everything to do with your sales did not equal the same number. And you can go back through there and see a couple of years where the number was higher, like 2022, it was 8.49. Yeah, but 2.49, the net sales tax levies was 2.5 million. It's not that complicated, right? The bigger thing is, do your citizens trust that you're going to do a good job with their money, right? And you got to be clear with it. It'd be really nice if we could, play fifth grade math. 2 + 2 is 4. That's not fifth grade anymore. That's probably second grade. But anyway, my day, we're all old, right? Renee remembers. Stick my nose in. But
Yeah, I have no idea what this man is talking about now.
but you see it, So all of that just simply says, if you're going to make it clear, and one day if you're all the legislators, that's what you try to focus on. This doesn't make it clear, right? They try to claim transparency, but the average person sitting in the audience can't even follow the math, right? And without a calculator or understanding what the M2 whatever form is, you wouldn't even know what it means, right? That's not clarity. And let's make it clear, 2 + 2 is 4. That's clear, right? And then the rest of it just simply says, either we're doing a good job with your money, which means you're getting the services they asked for, or you're not. And if you're not, it doesn't matter what you're collecting, right? We need to do a better job. If we are, wonderful. But those are the people out there, the police, fire department, all these other people. Hey, what else? What do you see in the back? Those are the ones who actually do the work. And we have to pay them. One day that'll be you, and you'll want to be paid too. So, any other questions? Go ahead. Yes, ma'am. Ask the tough one. Finance is right there.
So good evening. My name is Julie Lee. I am a junior attending Elite Scholars Academy, and I have 2 questions. One is just for clarification. I do want to ask, so how is the value of an asset determined, and what would cause it to increase?
You're
Oh,
walking
you
on
want to
thin
open a
ground
bombshell on that one. And this is the important thing I think that to look at too, because a lot of times the implication is that the city of Morrow has assessed a value on it. We have absolutely nothing, I can promise you, to do with the assessments. It's through the tax assessors, and that's a separate component, not even attached supposedly to the tax commissioner's office. So it is a separate entity that is supposedly autonomous to do fair and equal assessments across the county, but I can assure you they do not. So, and you can look at those yourselves. On the residential home sales, they're fairly equitable, but as far as when you get into some of the undeveloped land or into industrial or retail lands, there is a far and wide variance there that is I can't explain to you, and I don't think anyone in the room can.
So, some counties do a really good job. This one does not.
I appreciate the transparency.
Yeah, and usually it's, but to answer your question more candidly, if a house sells, that's where they do comps in like real estate, as American attest as he is a real estate broker. So the comp sales around in the area are comparable sales. So what are the other items, what's the valuation other people place on that item and have paid for those in the past? So that's the probably closest way that you get the residential on par, whereas you don't have the same with some of the other tracks I was talking about.
Thank you for answering my question. So my follow-up to that is more of a hypothetical. So it's just, I'm wondering if the assets or the value of the city that is increasing, and this is causing the tax to increase, so I'm just looking through the lens of socioeconomics, and I'm wondering if the tax is increasing, if the city is growing, would that push certain residents away from a city that's growing because they cannot afford the value of the city?
Your senior citizens have a school system exemption, right, which means you're not paying school tax. The city of Morrow has a $200,000 homestead exemption regardless of age or income, right? And almost nobody has that. You're very rare. It's not a very expensive county to live in, right, in comparison to your other metro counties. A house that Miss Cherry lives in that's worth $300,000, she's going to dispute that, but one day she'll sell it and we'll see. Might be worth $500,000 in a different county. Right? So you just have to be able to say this is where you're at. So I don't see people leaving mostly because of housing valuations. What I see people leaving is quality of life. Right? And you guys are fitting right in the same boat. So let's say your parents worked hard, did everything that they could, you guys are now bright, you got an education. So I'll ask you the question, are you staying? Or are you gonna go get the job over in Johns Creek and you're gonna live there?
Johns Creek. Funny you mentioned Johns Creek.
Am I wrong? All right, so our job is to sit there and go, we groomed you. We grew you, you grew yourselves. I'm just laying it out there, but you're the crop of the future. In other words, the people who will be sitting up here at some point, you know. So let's say 75% of you go to Johns Creek. Now, if I could pick the 25 who stay, I'd have to look at your GPAs, I don't know. Yeah. So you see the point?
Yes.
Right? So then how do we continue to grow here? Right? So if I can't provide you that service, and that service could be jobs, right? Drive time. In Metro Atlanta, everything's related to traffic, right? It could be anything else that's available. Maybe the skill set. Maybe there's certain tech jobs that are only in a certain location. You got an airport right next door, and you're going, yeah, I'm still going to live in Johns Creek, and I'm going to drive down to the airport. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. Then let's do one better. All right, so we have some females in the audience. When you have children, are you staying? Oh, no, wait a minute. Help me out here. Well, why not? Well, first, because you're honest. I appreciate that. You're not telling us anything we don't know, right? But half the politicians, not up here because I think we get it, but there are going to be half the politicians in this county are going to sit there and ignore the fact of what you just stated. They're going to ignore the fact that you're making a conscious decision that says, I think I'm going to pass, right? Isn't it their job to make it so you don't pass? Isn't it their job to make it so that you have what you want right here? That's my job. You're about to get us on a soapbox, sorry. Other questions? All right, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michaela Stevens, and I attend Elite Scholars Academy as a junior as well, and I'm here with my Walking Authority Teen Council. I did want to ask, earlier in the session, you mentioned that some of the changes are due to a Georgia House bill, and you guys kind of stated that it wasn't either as applicable to the city of Marl, or it was kind of contradictory to what you want to do in the city. And I wanted to ask, how would you go about informing the state of maybe, hey, this isn't the best thing for us? Are there any alternatives or anything else that could happen?
Sure, we don't actually get the latitude of that once they pass it, the government signs it. I think that they're crystal clear that there's a lot of discontent. One of the reasons we're doing this now is because there's been a delay because of the confusion with House Bill 581. I wasn't kidding when I said it was clear as mud. So there's a lot of conflagration in that bill where it's difficult for even tax commissioners and the assessors and everyone else to come into alignment with what the goal is. The original name of the bill was the Taxpayers Transparency Act, so it's not that transparent. And I think it puts a lot of unnecessary burdens where, to your point, you know, why did we leave? Why did we do? Why don't you want to stay here? That's the paramount question, is why. Probably some service issues or some things, amenities that you don't have elsewhere. So when we do something like this, when it's almost being punished for growing an area, a city or a county, it's kind of counterintuitive to what we want to do economically, and then that adversely affects the socioeconomic opportunities, a number of other varieties that we can look at. But I think that we do that through the GMA, which is the Georgia Municipal Association, which you guys have been familiarized with because they came down and did the program with you. That's a good tool for us to voice our opinions on that, and also through just direct contact with the legislators, and that's what we've done. Hopefully they'll clean this up. I don't know. I don't know if we want them to try it, because sometimes when they try, it's worse than what it started with, but we do share that with them.
Okay. And House Bill 581 was more complicated than that. Right? We're just seeing one of the side effects. One of the other things that they were trying to do was to set in like a millage cap. Okay. Now, everybody would agree, let's say that you're all representative individual cities. What is good for you may not be good for you. So somebody in North Georgia, specifically Rome, Georgia, basically introduces a bill and tries to get it to pass, saying this is what's good for me in, say, Hall County. Isn't it Hall County?
Yes, sir.
And I disagree with the taxation up here. I disagree with how they're spending the money. And I'm basically going to make it so you can't. But I got to do that for everybody. So now I'm going to go over here to Clayton County, or I'm going to go down to Savannah, and I'm basically going to limit your local officials from being able to decide what's best for you, and even ultimately yourself as to what's best for you. the law was a train wreck. And even as they were passing the law, they talked about, well, we're probably gonna have to fix some of this. I'll tell you what, let's just do auto mechanics for just a minute. I'm gonna fix your car. I'm gonna tell you while you're driving it down the road, probably gonna need some additional repairs. Didn't get it quite right. But don't worry, you're good. You know, you're not gonna buy that. Yeah? You know, if you can't get quality legislation out, then it shouldn't pass. It did pass, but then ultimately they pushed it back to local leaders with a lot of pressure, school systems as well, saying, you gotta take this, and you have to actually vote from up here to tell them no. How many cities and counties said no? A chunk. There might have been a couple that said yes. That means it's a terrible piece of legislation. And you can look it up online. If you think this was clear as mud, wait till you see that. You know, and then the other thing is obviously elect competent state legislators, because you got a bunch of them that aren't too. And you can run for legislator at 18 years old, by the way. Trust me, even blind, you can't be worse than some of those that we got.
You're welcome.
All right, our meeting starts officially at, wait, we didn't finish, did we? All right, sorry about that. All right, so, new business consideration for a bid for, Construction Management Coordinators LLC, Mr. Baker?
Yes, sir. This is probably long overdue. We have recently leveled out the area behind the district boardwalk, finished that off. The last two items that we have to complete out there are signage and to address the drainage issue coming directly off the downspouts and how to redirect that into the stormwater area in the stream next to us. What we came up with was a drainage system improvement that would allow us to rehabilitate some of that water and reuse it for irrigational purposes. This would take the drain lines where they terminate right at the base of the wall and are causing, with the rains and everything else, it's gonna wash that right back out after we had seeded it and leveled it out. We have plans for the Christmas decorations and other things to go out there, so it is timely for us to go ahead and move forward with this, as we've delayed it as long as we possibly can. This plan does, there were 3 different quotes on that. I'm recommending the one that came in the middle based on the fact of the thoroughness of the quote and their previous expertise in that area. It basically pulls the drains off of there. There's gonna be a French drain on towards, closer to the center towards I-75. That will disperse water as it comes towards the stream area. The first 8 drain areas will be collected into a hard pipe and put into a 500-gallon tank that has a pump system on it, so we can use that for irrigation. And that's expandable for future projects if we decide to do a waterworks project, so we can reclaim that water and reuse it, as well as feed it with fresh water later on if we need to.
Comments, Ms. Knight,
No questions.
Mr. Qual,
No comment.
Ms. Dean,
No questions.
Ms. Wynn.
No question.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So I did notice that, that area was cleared out over by the district, and I was wondering why that was necessary to take all of that, like, clear cut the land basically, and I feel like that could increase the issues that are plaguing the area,
Such as,
drainage issues, vegetation can.
yeah,
kind of- and
the
that
drainage
also-
issue in that area, if you look at it, there's a drain that comes directly off of, DOT drain that comes directly off 575 and dumps into that. There's 2 convergent streams that come into that area. The vegetation, actually, when we did it, we chipped it up so that it was mulched, so that allows for better absorption and less erosion. But the purpose of that was to clear cut that area for development purposes as well, so. But it's not a detriment to that area.
And we own roughly 300 acres of true green space that's just on the other side of I-75, that's closer to your house. In commercial real estate, if you can't see it, you can't sell it. And if you can't operate it, let's say you get a TGI Fridays or something, they want that visibility from I-75. That's what pays the bills here, right? So you gotta be able to say, totally understand, but in that particular case, you know, now, if we're out there like truly grading it, you know, then we put things like that. So that's to basically prevent dirt from getting into the streams, things like that. But just cutting grass, not so much. Fair enough.
And we have had previous issues, you can talk to Brandon over here, he's a beaver hunter, that's a detriment when it backs up that stream, and we've had a lot of flooding areas. With clearing those out, that helps out too, and taking away some of the fodder for them to make their dams.
Any other questions? Miss Cherry?
Of course. Are we
Any money?
Yeah, I mean, like, we've got places rented and the circus is down there now, but are we clearing any money? Because we voted $180,000 for, Christmas decorations, now you want up to another $200,000, and that's $400,000.
Right. And some of the times when we spend money, especially SPOS money, the purpose is not to necessarily regenerate that, not the purpose of the government to make money stated, but it is to enhance that area. So I don't think that we could look at the expenditures of some of those that are allocated for SPOS that have been previously allocated into those SPOS buckets, which this is a SPOS-funded project as well. Necessarily that the motive of that is to make money, but to make it where it's more amenable for the accessibility of the public and for the different events that we do. But we do have those rentals, and we're trying to actively fill those rentals, and the hope is to offset the expenditures.
It's been a pleasure. Good to see you guys. No other questions? We will see you all at 7:30 when the meeting starts. What do you got?
Well, we've got the last one is for the ordinance, for the, did you want to review that? The ordinance for the SPOS, first reading?
Gosh, I guess I'm
Just
reading
to review
different
that.
things.
I'm sorry, millage.
First reading? First, it's ordinance 2505. Was that first reading?
Yes, sir. Did you want to?
Well, by all means, if you want to say it, go ahead.
I won't say it anyway if you wanna go get the donut now.
I'm just
You
saying it
can
was
start
on
at
the
these-
agenda.
we have a public hearing, right? So then the
Yes,
first
sir.
reading of an ordinance, the ordinance is usually available in the back. It's gonna say the exact same thing you just said, right? Am I
I
wrong?
digress, Mayor. Thank you all very much.
We'll see y'all at 7:30. Is Ms. Hugh on there?
Victor's not back. He had a,
I'm here.
Oh, perfect.
but, oh, there he is.
All right, good.
Can we give him a round of applause?
Yeah.
Is he on there?
Yes, she is. We just talked. All right.
You okay?
I'd like to call to order the August 12, 2025 regular meeting of the Morrow City Council to order. If you will stand for a pledge of allegiance, followed by a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. We have before you the regular approval of the regular July 22nd, 2025 regular meeting minutes, the July 22nd work session minutes, the August 5th special called meeting minutes, and the August 5th special called meeting executive session minutes. You've had those before you. Do I hear any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Qua?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
And Ms. Wynn?
Aye.
Motion carries. Presentation, Mr. Mosley's not able to be here tonight, so we will defer. We had one section of a public hearing on the notice for setting the millage. As it is stated, our millage is exactly the same as it was this last year. Any questions, comments, or concerns in addition to what we had for the work session? All right, I'm gonna go into new business. New business is consideration to approve the city manager's recommendation to accept the bid from Construction Management Coordinators LLC for the district system improvements in the amount of $205,233.92, and funds to cover such expense would come from the SPLOST 2020. The city manager makes this recommendation based on thoroughness, expertise, previous work, pricing, and authorizes the mayor to execute any related documents. Questions, comments, concerns from the city council?
Coach,
Hearing none, do I hear a I'm sorry?
when is this due to start?
I'm sorry.
When is the project due to start?
Hopefully this week or next week,
Okay,
immediately, as soon as we
ASAP?
can. Ma'am?
ASAP?
Yes.
Fair enough. Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye. Ms. Knight?
Aye.
Mr. Qua?
Aye.
Ms. Dean?
Aye.
And Ms. Wynn?
Aye.
Motion carries. I believe this ordinance 2025-05, that's the first reading, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's basically the first reading as the city sets the millage rate. for the collections of the city. The information's in the back. Any other questions could be deferred to the city manager. Finance officer still in the room. Anybody who wants to ask any questions of that. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, questions from the audience, concerns from the audience? Everybody's good? Concerns from the city council, Ms. Knight,
No.
Mr. Quad,
No.
Ms. Dean, and Ms. Wood. No other questions, comments, concerns? Y'all have a good evening. Good night.